Okay, hello, and thanks for joining the final event in the MSDynamicsWorld.com Document Management webcast series. I am Jason Gumpert from MSDynamicsWorld.com. I'm really glad to have everyone on the line today. Hope you're having a great end of your week. It has been a really fun series of sessions that we've been having over the last couple of months on document management, and let me just pull up a look at those here. All of those are available on demand now. If you go to the events link in the upper right at msdynamicsworld.com, you'll see the current events and a link to the past events, and we invite you to check all of those out. I do want to also thank our webcast series sponsors, Perceptive Software, ImageTag, Equisys, and Metafile for making this all possible, and also for coming together today for today's event, this Document Management Vendor Shootout webcast. We asked each company to put together a 10-minute presentation to show us all their latest and greatest stuff, and we selected an order of presentations at random, and at the end I'll make just a few closing remarks. If you have any questions, I should note, feel free to ask them in the Q&A box. We won't be doing live Q&A right now, but we will be taking any questions you have and forwarding them on so that each of our sponsors can have a chance to answer questions for you if you have them. We'll also post contact information in a slide near the end of the session, and we'll make that information available to you in a follow-up as well. So thanks again for attending. It should be a really fun session. We're going to give each speaker 10 minutes, and I'm going to start handing off control here. The first person to speak I will introduce now is Ryan Poliniak from Equisys. So let me give him control and let him take it away. So Ryan, you should now be audible on the phone and getting access to the desktop.
All right. Well, great. Thank you very much, Adam. We've got about 10 minutes here to go over some of what we do at Equisys, and we are a Microsoft Dynamics NAV ISV solution. For everybody who's on NAV in particular, this will be of particular interest. If you're not on NAV, I apologize for the next 10 minutes. You might have to wait for the other solutions. Zeta Docks for NAV is the solution that we've provided, and what it does is it adds in document management capability, document imaging, and document delivery ability into the NAV client. Our goal was to keep everything inside of NAV, make it a one-stop solution for NAV customers, NAV partners, and this is available through the partner channel. So make sure to talk to your partner about it if you have any questions, or feel free to reach out to me as well. You can find me on LinkedIn. So I'll get started. We don't have much time here. The main interface that Zeta Docks uses is the Zeta Docks document archive window. I'm in the role-tailored client here, NAV 2009. It works the same way in the classic client for those of you who are more familiar with that. All the functionality is identical. I chose the latest and greatest role-tailored client to show the latest interface. So you can see here a list of documents, and this is the end result of what we expect to gather using something like Zeta Docks for tracking documentation, delivering documentation. And what it's meant to do is it's meant to give us a complete transactional electronic history of all documentation throughout the process of the transaction and to make it available right on screen. As you can see here, we've got an order confirmation, we've got our original customer order, an invoice, we've got an email pertaining to some pertinent information about the order. Now I'm going to go back and show how we go about getting all of this documentation into NAV and link to the proper transaction. So for starters, Zeta Docks has a document delivery capability. Fairly simple, works on a print driver, and what this does is it enables us to send batches of documentation. I'll send a batch of posted sales invoices because this is a very popular use of the Zeta Docks software. And what Zeta Docks is going to do is it's going to go out and it's going to look at some automated rules that we have set up either system-wide or in the customer card for a particular customer, and it's going to apply rules for delivering that documentation via fax and email, and it's going to automate the creation of the email body, the subject line, etc. And you can see here we've got a preview screen with our 10 invoices. Some are going out as emails, some are going out as faxes. And it's applying a template, which is going to take care of adding any additional attachments, applying stationery, etc. So all we have to do to release our documentation is hit OK. All of our invoices go out via fax, email, even as a hard copy. And you can see what they look like here. You've got your standard NAV invoice report. We've overlaid some stationery on it. We've automatically created emails, dynamically pulled fields from NAV like record number, company name, contact name. And this is as opposed to the standard way that I see a lot of NAV users invoicing, which is save it to a PDF, open an email, attach it, etc. A very manual, time-intensive process. And especially if documents are being mailed, there can be a significant cost savings there. So Zeta Docks can be used to deliver not just invoices, but any type of report from NAV and automate that process, saving time and at times saving a tremendous amount of money as well. So if you'd like to, you can actually archive those delivered documents as they go out the door, and they'll appear here in your Zeta Docks document archive window, so that at a later date we can go back and recall the document. This avoids us having to store paper copies, and it makes it much easier to retrieve the document on screen right from NAV. Now, of course, that covers delivering documents from NAV, but the main part of document management is capturing outside documentation, emails, faxes, paper documents. Several different ways Zeta Docks enables NAV users to do this. Probably the most straightforward is this drag and drop interface. You can see we've got a way to drag and drop files right onto an NAV record, and this is extendable to any area of NAV. I'm staying in a sales invoice for now. I'll go into purchasing in just a moment. But we see users archiving information to item cards, customer cards, sales transactions, purchasing transactions. So you can see here, I've just drag and dropped this document, and I can then come back to NAV and view it. The images are actually stored outside of NAV as to not degrade performance, but they are available for viewing right here. And as you can see, we could start workflows as well on these documents to circulate the documents for approval. Likewise, if we have an entire email, maybe we want to keep the email body, we can drag and drop the entire email onto the transaction. And this can be important for things like order changes or anything that's pertinent that's going to be relevant later on to an audit trail process. If a customer calls in with a question, we may want access not only to the documentation, but to the actual email itself. So when we archive an email, it's going to pull up the entire email. We could forward it along to the customer, reply, do anything that we need to at this point, and we've got all the attached documentation as well. And that's launched right from the NAV client. So that covers any type of document that's on screen, that's electronic. We can drag and drop right here. We can also scan paper documents straight to this archive. If we have one document that we'd like to include in this archive, we can do that, permanently linking it to the transaction chain. It stays constant throughout the posting process, so if we attach something to a sales order, when it's posted and becomes an invoice, all the documentation will carry over. And unlike the NAV links function that's existent in the NAV software itself, if the document's moved at a later date, the link is not broken. It will always be attached to the appropriate transaction because we use a proprietary metadata linking system to ensure that document does not move. So that's really a good way to deal with electronic documents or single documents, direct scanning. But of course, many times we're dealing with large numbers of paper documents, especially on the purchasing side. So Zeta Docks handles this by allowing us to barcode documentation. Of course, we all know what a vendor invoice looks like. We get vendor invoices in. Typical process is we're going to go into NAV and we're going to create a purchasing transaction. So we go in, maybe we'll create a purchase invoice, or maybe there's already a purchase order associated with this document. Well, in either case, we're going to want to archive that vendor invoice to this document. And if we've got a large number of vendor invoices, it may not be feasible to scan them all one by one or to drag and drop them all to our Zeta Docks archive. So what we might need to do is go into our purchasing transaction and print out a barcode. Zeta Docks allows us to print this barcode right from NAV, whether classic or role-tailored client, and then go back and affix that barcode to our document, put all of our documents in a pile, and at the end of the day we can batch scan them into our network scanner. Zeta Docks will read each document and link the document back to the appropriate NAV transaction. And what this does is it automates the process of getting documentation, paper documentation that is, into NAV as quickly as possible. So the way that Zeta Docks does this is it reads the contents of a network folder that you're scanning everything to, and it's going to display it in the Zeta Docks for NAV document queue, which I have just a moment to show here. Document queues are set up to deal with archiving a particular type of documentation. We've seen them set up for HR documentation, of course vendor invoices, sales orders, any type of document that you can think of. A document queue can be set up to automate the process of linking that. So if we view one of our document queues here, we've got a couple vendor invoices with barcoded links attached to them. Zeta Docks can be set up so that they automatically link to the appropriate transaction, or so that we have to come in here to the document queue and tell it to go ahead and archive all linked documents. If we do that, either way, the document image is going to go back and it's going to be linked up to the appropriate transaction. And in this case, we attached it to a purchase invoice. And what Zeta Docks is going to do then is it's going to give us the ability to not only view the documentation that we just linked, but also to go out and start workflows to circulate that record to anybody who might need to approve it. And this is launched and monitored right from the NAV client. So we start the approval process, and then when we go back into the NAV transaction and refresh it, you can see our approval status has gone from start workflow over to in progress. We can actually click on that link and take us out.
And Mike, we're about at time here. So any closing remarks, then we can...
Yeah, sure. That's it for the Zeta Docks presentation. Thanks for listening. And keep in mind that this is an NAV-only solution. It's extendable to any area of NAV to cover delivering documents and capturing documents. Feel free to reach out to me with any questions. Find me on LinkedIn. Thank you very much.
All right, thanks, Mike. I'm sorry, thanks, Ryan. And let me just pull control back here. So thank you very much. And next up is Tara Jones from ImageTag. So Tara, I am going to give you desktop control here, and I invite you to take it away.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Jason, and for the opportunity to be able to share some information about QuickTag. QuickTag is the company, or as the product, ImageTag is the company. I'm actually going to start with a couple of slides to begin with and then jump into the demonstration. When you choose a document management solution, you're also buying the company beyond just buying the solution. I want to share a little bit about ImageTag and our methodology, a little bit of our history and heritage. Starting in 1997, we brought to market a standalone document management system. That system actually, and the gateway and the way that we process images has 6 U.S. patents on it. In 2004, we were actually the first organization to be brought into the Dynamics marketplace within GP. So that brings our Dynamics customers the ability and the opportunity to leverage our heritage and our history of being a document management organization. So you get a fully embedded document management solution within each of the 3 Dynamics ERPs that we support, which is GP, NAV, and AX. All of our innovation and research and development are all focused exclusively around Dynamics. We didn't come down market from a bigger solution or spread ourselves across any other ERPs. In addition, and finally, We're a very customer-driven culture. I believe this is extremely important as it relates to customer satisfaction and an unwavering commitment to our clients, providing both live technical support as well as a centralized and dedicated account management team that you can depend on not just through the sales cycle, but all the way through your relationship and partnership with ImageTag. To briefly summarize how we compare and really what differentiates us from other solutions in the market, I've kind of broken these out into genres, if you will. In terms of the way that we capture, we're very distributed. We don't utilize the capability, the functionality of the scanning equipment themselves. This is important in total cost of ownership. And you can just read down the list in terms of offering our customers the choice, using really the ERP interface as a mechanism to collect, view, search for information. But regardless of what your users are utilizing, whether that be the Dynamics, they've got a Dynamics license, whether they don't have a Dynamics license and perhaps need to use a web client, or even if you have a SharePoint solution in place where you're using SharePoint as the platform of collaboration and sharing of information. For us, we want to give our clients the power of choice to be able to consume, view, search information across any platform. QuickTag is not just a capture solution. We have evolved into offering a very powerful workflow solution. And in terms of our approach, it's very configurable and can be really deployed not just within AP or in the finance function, but really across the enterprise. So when you buy QuickTag, you're not buying just an AP solution, but you are buying a full enterprise-wide content management solution. In addition, in terms of total cost of ownership, project timelines, we keep a key eye on making sure that we're able to deliver quickly and in a timely manner so full ROI can be achieved. As each of you are considering a document management solution, I would encourage you to look beyond the features and functions of the solutions that you're evaluating and really keep in mind the end, what you're trying to achieve when you're moving from a manual process to one of automation. These are 6 best practices that we share with our clients in the form of workshops and also through the sales cycle, where we really help them to dig in and look at the end that they're trying to achieve. QuickTag provides you with a solution that's very scalable, so you don't have to boil the ocean right out of the gate. It's a matter of change management and bringing your constituents and your stakeholders through that process once AP is committed to a paperless environment. Now, in today's demonstration, I'm actually going to show QuickTag to you in the GP interface. So I'm going to go through a couple of quick screenshots to just show you what the solution looks like across both NAV as well as AX. The interface, the embedded client, our methodology and approach is similar. The look and feel is just different based on the architecture of those ERPs. This is an example of the interface with our journal entry screen. When we look at the AX and NAV, they're very similar in terms of the way that we capture, search, retrieve within that interface. When we shift over to workflow or business process management, because we are beyond just a capture solution, I'm going to show you today what we refer to as a pre-ERP workflow approval. However, in both NAV and AX, we also can take a post-ERP approval starting from within the ERP and working our way out. Within AX workflow, it's important, and one of the best practices is to make sure that the system is able to validate the data, which we do, not only as relates to data, but also role validation. And then when it comes to enforcing the audit trail, we actually hold those transactions before posting to ensure that all of the proper approvals take place. Now, beyond both capture and workflow, you want to be able to have access to that information in what we refer to as a case view. It's bringing all of the information that drives a single decision into one view. Again, providing clients the power of choice and the way you choose to view that information. It could look something like this. It could be a status reporting where you're actually being able to see how each document went through the approval process, or a workflow history. A best practice is to scan or digitize information, meaning paper, as soon as you can in the process, but then more important, the information that's arriving digitized, you don't want to print those emails out and actually generate paper from information that's already been digitized. In addition, you can also see it in more linear, more reporting types of views that we're accustomed to. And finally, really, we're talking about a lot of internal consumption of information, but all of this can also be used to your external constituents as far as vendors. You've got a central repository now of very valuable information that can be shared outside of the organization. Everything that we've talked about here as it relates to AP and what I'm going to show you today, we often say, hey, rinse, lather, and repeat, and apply all of these best practices across any department within the organization to be able to increase efficiencies. And you'll get contact information so that you can get more information about QuickTag and our solution. So quickly, as I shared, I'm going to go into GP and use this as a mechanism to demonstrate QuickTag. When we talk about being fully embedded, we actually add or do all of our document management through the additional menu here within any of the 48 or up to 73 screens out of the box if you're using HR and payroll within GP. That means when it comes to actually capturing, viewing, or searching the information, we're going to actually do it right from this window. This embedded client takes the information off of those ERP screens and attaches it to the paper document through the means of a barcode. This is pre-printed, globally unique, sequentially numbered. I can add comments here, such as invoice, and say OK, and I've now just created a reservation in the system. I can also do this by means of being able to connect a digital document. I can browse out to a network share, find a document, and very easily attach it to a transaction record. In addition, if I wanted to bring a digital document over from either email, such as this spreadsheet, again, it's just simply clicking, dragging, and dropping anywhere on top of that embedded client, and that information is automatically captured and stored permanently against that transaction. Now, this works the same whether or not we're in a payable transaction entry, whether we move over to a vendor card, because remember, we're not just an AP solution as it relates to a payable. I can go anywhere within the solution and be able to see information through that additional menu, in this case, being able to view, for example, W-9s that have been attached to the vendor card. When it comes to searching, we actually search cross-screen. So if I were to look up or use a inquiry screen, such as the PO inquiry screen, I can actually come in here and look if I'm receiving a document or if I want to do an intermatch to be able to find all of the related information as it relates to that transaction. I can do it from within here. We'll go ahead and bring it up. So anywhere within GP, okay, so I don't do data entry. Okay, so we'll go ahead and bring that up. Well, let's, hold on just a second. The best laid plans, huh? Okay, there we go. So even through all of our inquiry screens, we have the ability to drill in and be able to view the information. We view that information in the embedded client through the business process that we capture in, meaning that if information is brought in through the purchase order, the receiving, or the invoice, it's all viewable in one screen. So really quickly, I'm going to jump over into our workflow. The scenario of essentially being able to scan first, bringing that information through an embedded client. These documents can be brought in through electronic format or via digital format. You've got the invoice, you've got the workload that you need to do. We do vendor validations here through this screen. If I've already coded to this invoice, I can simply type it in, and it'll automatically populate it. I've got the lookup validation through GP, and I simply submit this, and that document is automatically routed to my approver. The audit trail is captured through the entire process. The approver has 3 different ways to approve documents, either via the web client, which doesn't require an ERP license, through a mobile device such as an iPhone, Android, or BlackBerry, or via Outlook. I can simply approve that. Once all of the rules have triggered, we end up over here in GP to actually create the transaction end-to-end. All of the information is viewable here. And then we get over into GP and are able to post the transaction end-to-end and be able to bring that image over. So thank you for your time today, and I'll pass it back to you, Jason.
Okay, great. Thanks, Tara. Next up, we have Mike Castor from Perceptive Software. So, Mike, I'm going to open up Control for you. And I will invite you to take it from here.
Okay, great. Thanks, Jason. I'm Mike Castor. I'm an account executive for Perceptive Software, and my focus is within the dynamic space. So I know it's a short segment of time. I'm going to show you a few things today, but really I think, from a vendor perspective, all of you have come here today to kind of try to get a feel in a real short time period of what makes us different. And all of us have our own capabilities and our target customer profiles that we work with. Each of us have very compelling solutions to offer. So I'm just going to focus on really what it is we do well at Perceptive and kind of go from there. So if anybody's not familiar with Perceptive Software, we've been around for a number of years. A lot of people are familiar with our parent organization, Lexmark. And so Lexmark acquired Perceptive back in 2010, and we've already been going through a fairly rapid period of growth organically within our customer base. But now with the Lexmark brand behind us, we've been able to expand into international markets, and that's starting to kind of really drive a lot of demand for our solutions. So as it relates to Microsoft and our capabilities within the Dynamics suite of products, we offer an end-to-end document and process management solution. So meaning from the point an invoice goes into a scanner, we can drive an automated business process throughout the life cycle of that document. So we can flow that item through to capture non-PO coding information. We can capture approvals. We can communicate with the different systems and people along the way, and then apply some retention policies to those documents or document types so that if and when they need to be destroyed, that can be automated as well. A couple things to point out here that are important. We are an official launch partner for the SQL Server 2012 platform. We're a managed gold ISV partner and invest a lot of money and resources with Microsoft. So what it means to you, the customer, is we're always kind of staying really close with our Microsoft counterparts to drive these solutions down to their capabilities and to their end users in a way that they feel is best. Our solution can be deployed for whether it's AX or GP, NAV, SL, regardless of platform. All these capabilities exist. But today I'm going to really just focus on AX since we've seen NAV and GP already. So the notable advantages and what makes us different. We look at our solutions as enterprise process and content management. So we're not talking about just automating a workflow process or just simply attaching records to screens within the ERP. We have the ability to look at your business process and help model a more efficient process so that you're not just automating a bad workflow process. So that's a big differentiator for us. Our capabilities are productized, but they're all very flexible, and they're designed with the end user in mind that you want to deploy these things very quickly and efficiently without the use of extensive IT resources. We recently acquired a company called Brainware, and this is the industry-leading intelligent data capture engine. So while we hear things like OCR, optical character recognition, Brainware is a little bit different, and I'll talk to that here in a second. With physical infrastructure, we have the ability to provide the entire infrastructure to support document management. And obviously, we're completely agnostic in terms of which vendors we work with on the hardware side. However, the relationship with Lexmark certainly makes a lot of sense for some of the larger decentralized environments that really need to be capturing documents away from the office, maybe in a retail environment, for example. So again, to just talk on kind of where our solutions are typically deployed in the different departments. Obviously, we'll talk a little bit about accounts payable today, but even on the front end of that process around procurement, employee expenses, we have an ERP manufacturer that deploys our solution within their enterprise, and their employees submit all their time and expense through our solutions. Human resources, onboarding, personnel management, contracts management, and there's a few other areas as well. So we offer, again, flexible set of capabilities to kind of span multiple departments. So just to talk about Brainware and why this is different and what it means to you in the accounting world. Brainware has the ability to apply contextual intelligence to the information that we're extracting off of a document. And in simple terms, what that means is if I placed 2 novels on my desk and I ripped all the pages out of those novels and put them all into a big pile and dumped them into a scanner, Brainware has the intelligence factor and the contextual intelligence to separate all of those documents into 2 unique novels and put them back on my desk. So in the case of invoice processing, sure, we can pull the header footer data and we can leverage that as a way to automatically index your documents. However, if we want to extract line level detail, we can perform an automated match process, even though the invoice may not depict those lines exactly how they sit inside the ERP. So we get a real high success rate. The product ships with that layer of intelligence out of the box, and it continues to evolve over time to address the exceptions. So for AX 2012, what I'm going to show you here is our native interface. Again, it was a co-developed solution being directed by Microsoft. They drove us this path because this made sense to their customer base. And so what you're looking at here is an AX 2012 screen. And if I scroll to a record on that screen or a project, you can see along the side that we're attaching pieces of document and we're displaying that to the user so they can get quick access to any kind of content type. So to capture documents, we can capture those directly from within the native AX client, or like we said earlier, Brainware can capture those documents and automatically link them. So when I go through this list of these list of folders or content types, I basically select the content I'm looking at. It displays we display a thumbnail, and then I can expand that and take a look at that document or content type. The reason I say content is, for in this case, we're showing a blueprint. It doesn't matter to us whether it's an invoice or a purchase order, a check, or a blueprint, or a WAV file. It's all content at the end of the day. So this is a very, very compelling component of our solution, and I'll go ahead and play this. What this scenario is we're looking at a workflow process. So just think of these individual boxes as a workflow process, and each of these are workflow queues. Our perceptive reflect technology allows you to play back a segment of time showing all the documents that move through your workflow queues and give you a visualization so you can look at where are the bottlenecks occurring. So we can kind of get a look at where are the normal, where is 90% of all of the workflow occurring, and then where are my exceptions occurring and why. For example, I can click any of these specific documents that are rolling through this process, and I can drill into the transactional data behind that actual ball or graphic. So we're looking for throughput. In this case, we're showing by vendor. We can slice this data by GL department, by cost center, by invoice amount, by department, and so on and so on. So this is what we're talking about when we talk about optimizing a business process and not just automating a workflow. Pull that out. And with that, I'll go ahead and close and turn things over to our folks at Metafile.
All right. Thank you very much, Mike. And as Mike said, our next presenter is going to be Bob Hawley from Metafile. So, Bob, just give me 1 second to get your audio turned on and your control of the session. Bob, you should be off of mute now.
Perfect, thanks. I don't see the share button lit up, but I guess that doesn't have to be.
Oh, I'm seeing your desktop. Yep, I am.
Good. Okay, that's a little bit better view. First of all, thank you all for allowing me to present today and us to present today. I'll be as quick as I can and go through as much information as I can about MetaViewer. Metafile Information Systems is the name of the company. MetaViewer is the product. Metafile's been around for over 30 years. Got document management started in the early 80s and started with simple document capture, cold capture, if you will, of internally created documents. From there, we added on the scanning capability to allow our customers to capture externally generated documents. Those were documents that were sent to them from an external source. And then workflow was added on, automated workflow was added on to that, as well as full integration to ERP systems. So today, we have over 3,500 installations of MetaViewer worldwide, and we're connected to not only the 4 dynamic ERP solutions as well as CRM and SharePoint, but we're connected to about 85 different other ERP systems. So we've built quite a few integrations between many different ERP systems, including, as I said, the 4 Dynamics ERP systems. What is MetaViewer more specifically? It's a web-based enterprise document management solution, so it's browser-based. That means that no workstations need to have an installation on them. Any browser will work. The one that's not missing here that could be added would be Google's Chrome. I think that's gaining some popularity and some momentum, but it really doesn't matter. We're browser agnostic. As I mentioned earlier, fully integrated with Dynamics GP, AX, NAV, and SL, and I know there are users and consultants on the line from each of those 4 different areas. CRM connection integration as well as to many other ERP applications. I'll share a little bit with you today about some technology that we offer that no one else in the industry has. A little bit more about the feature set of MetaViewer. As kind of standard out-of-the-box functionality, we offer Google-type searching of documents. So you can search for any word within any document that's in MetaViewer. It doesn't have to be a predefined indexed value of that document. It can be any word that appears in the document. We have the unique ability to index documents that are created by your customers and your vendors that are sent to you electronically. So let's think about that. Invoices that come in that are emailed to you on the accounts payable side, or on the order side, let's say a customer of yours sends in a purchase order. If they send that to you electronically, we have the ability to capture all of the data on that document without using OCR technology. You've heard of that referred earlier, optical character recognition. We actually have the ability to copy and paste the text from that document without using OCR. Everyone probably knows that OCR is not 100% accurate. I think in the earlier presentation you just heard, they have about an 80% hit rate. Don't let any of us tell you that their OCR engine is any better than anybody else's. We all probably use the same document capture technology where the hit rate is about 80 to 85%. Keep in mind, the cleaner the document is that is read, the better your results are in reading it. We have an automated process where we can grab documents that are automatically that are sent to an email box or an FTP site or to an EDI server and bring those in automatically. We offer different acquisition types. You can purchase MetaViewer if you'd like in the traditional way. We also offer MetaViewer in a SaaS environment, and we have one additional one, and that is You want it on site on servers that you have, but you don't want to buy the software. You want us to install it, configure it for you, just as though you did buy it, but we rent it to you. So you pay on a monthly basis instead of putting out the money for the software cost. As far as costs are concerned, we have, here's a good example, an AP automation solution which includes the OCR capture piece. That solution can start as little as $25,000. That's including installation and first-year maintenance. No functionality lost when working with PDF documents or any other type of non-TIFF documents. We offer graphical dashboard views so that your folks can see where documents are quickly and easily that are in workflow, line item detail indexing, and finally, full automation in workflow, rules-based workflow. So in an overview here, MetaViewer is just that. It's a document repository. It doesn't store its documents in SharePoint, although we have integration with SharePoint. To capture documents, we use a tool called the Accelerator. This just happens to be an AP-focused slide, so we use the word Invoice Accelerator. On the order side, the AR side, it might say Order Accelerator. Notice that we capture documents also that you generate in your Dynamics ERP system or in Excel or Word. Then the documents that you're going to get in paper, and you'll always get some documents in paper. That involves a scanning and an OCR process where we can extract the data that way. Documents come into MetaViewer, and potentially they go through a workflow engine first for routing and approval, coding potentially as well. So we build the workflow that meets your business processes. Multiple ways to retrieve documents from that are inside MetaViewer. You can push buttons on your Microsoft Dynamics screens. I'll show you that if I have time. You can also get to documents in MetaViewer from a SharePoint homepage, which actually is not listed here but should be. And finally, for those non-ERP users, they would get to documents, if they're allowed to, through the Internet, through a browser. We do offer a vendor or a customer portal as well, which gives limited access to documents that you want those folks to see. We have many different ways to upload data from MetaViewer into Dynamics. And it really is going to depend on which Dynamics ERP system you use. For example, we use web services pretty exclusively for Dynamics AX customers. eConnect is the Microsoft Dynamics GP tool that we prefer to use, but there are some customers that use another ISV product called Smart Connect, and that's by E1. So just know that as we pass data back and forth between the ERP system and MetaViewer, there are multiple ways to do that, which we would discuss with you as to which one would be the best for you. There is bidirectional passing of data also. Dynamics integration. Remember I said you could access documents through any of the Dynamics screens. Here's an example. I think this is a GP screen. We're on a purchase invoice entry screen, and we've added a button here which triggers a search for the MetaViewer document that's related to the information on the screen. Here's an AX screen with a MetaViewer button here. As I click that MetaViewer button, I have my choice as to which document I want to see. If I click on the invoices selection there, it launches a browser, and I pull that up, and there's the document that's at my disposal, along with the related documents in MetaViewer. So each of the vendors you've heard today offer different document management solutions with workflow. You've heard the words automation and increasing efficiencies a lot from each of us. So how do you decide which one is best for you? One way is to have each vendor walk through in a step-by-step way what actually happens to a document as it goes through your workflow process and how much human interaction is required. For example, All of us will probably recommend talking to your vendors and customers to ask them to send you documents like invoices and orders electronically and not in paper. That alone will make you more efficient because you are not dealing with paper and the scanning process. But what then? Does the document management system monitor the email box that invoices or orders are sent to and automatically pull them in, or is someone needed to do that as a manual process? That's just one example. So really ask those detailed questions from the companies that you're considering for document management. And I thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you, Bob. And I do want to thank Bob and Mike, Tara, and Ryan all for really giving some great presentations today. They were all really informative and helpful. And that does conclude our look at the various solutions available from our webcast series sponsors. I want to thank them again. We invite you to get in touch with any of the companies you've heard from today, and here's some contact information that you can note down. We'll also make this available after the session today. And while I have you here, if you are interested in vendor solutions, I would also mention that we have our upcoming Decisions Spring 2012 virtual conference, where is a great place to learn about various solutions for Dynamics ERP and CRM, and that is going to be happening live June 18th through the 21st. It'll include an exhibit hall with dozens of sponsors, dozens of exhibitors, and some really outstanding sessions planned from product managers, Microsoft MVPs, and a lot of other topical experts and subject matter experts. So definitely take a look there. It's also free to attend, I should mention, and a lot of fun. So thanks again for attending today. Thanks to our presenters. We have recorded the session, so it will be available on demand very soon, and we will let you know about that. So without further ado, I say thank you very much, and have a great rest of your day.